Well, I just played Crash 2, Cortex Strikes Back. And you know what? That's a pretty good game. It's a pretty good game. I liked it. If you haven't seen my last video on Crash 1, you should watch it. I am new to this Crash series, and I gotta say, I'm starting to become a fan, okay? And this game has really pushed me in that direction. So yeah, in this video, I really want to talk about, so I've only played Crash 1 from the N. Sane Trilogy, and now I just beat Crash 2 from the N. Sane Trilogy. So I just kind of want to talk about my experience with Crash 2, you know, which one I think is better between the two games. So yeah, let's get straight into this.
What is going on with me, guys?
Come on, get out of the way!
Ah!
The first thing I want to go over is a couple of the key differences between Crash 1 and Crash 2. One of the first things you'll notice is that when you're going between levels, it's not a straight linear structure anymore. You have these warp rooms. Each one of them has 5 levels, and you're going to need to go through the levels and get the crystal in each. That way you can access the next warp room. There's also a lot of cool secrets, hidden paths. You know, there's death pits that really aren't death pits. They lead to secret areas. There's all kinds of hidden paths and alternate exits to places. Yeah, and there's always things you can backtrack and find. The difficulty seems to also be a lot more balanced. Like if you're just going for those main crystals for the story, it's going to be a lot less stressful than the original Crash was. They're also a lot more generous with like checkpoints and things. You know, I feel less cheated over in this game than I did in the first when it comes to the jumping and the precision and everything. And keep in mind, I am talking about just the N. Sane Trilogy. I know things are probably a little different when it comes to the original game. But you know, the reason I'm playing these games is because my friend Sky, he gave me the N. Sane Trilogy to play. He knows a lot more than me about everything Crash. So I'm going to let him talk for a second about the movement in Crash 2.
Well, thanks, Colton. Let me just say about Crash 2, the movement is 100% better than the original. The original, even a bottomless pit felt like a chore because you had to be a perfect jump. The slide, which is the biggest improvement on the game, movement-wise, actually makes things so much easier. You can slide, and then you jump, and then man, like, you can cover such a huge gap. It's basically like a long jump for Mario. It's crazy. It helps with platforming. You don't have to be as precise as you were in Crash 1. It makes the overall game easier. And the level design also is less cramped, so it allows you to slide more often. It's more open, even though it's, you know, still like a linear hallway-like design, but it's still more open and allows you to do that. The belly flop is also cool too, just because he looks funny while he does it.
Whee!
Super jump is also really cool, which is definitely not intended, but just a lot more distance with that too. So that's basically like a long and high jump together. Oh, also I forgot, when you crouch and then jump, you get the high jump too. It adds just more ways you can tackle certain things. It's not just running and jumping and spinning. It's running, jumping, spinning, sliding, stomping, super jumping, and it's fun. It's way more fun. And I think that alone, the movement alone, makes the game more fun than Crash 1 in my opinion. And now we're gonna cut to Carrie. Hey.
Thank you, Sky. You know, I agree. The movement is pretty awesome in this game. So I'm going to cover the story real quick. So the game kind of picks up where the first one left off. Cortex crashes violently, but then he finds a power crystal. And he gets some dark, nefarious thoughts about using them to take over the world. So he devises an awesome plan to collect all these power crystals using Crash Bandicoot. That's right, the player. He manipulates poor little Crash. He just does it. He doesn't really think anything.
That you bring them to me.
Okay, I totally believe you. You're definitely a nice dude. Cortex lying? Nah, he couldn't. He wouldn't lie.
Now, Coco, on the other hand, is a little bit skeptical about this. You know, he is an evil villain telling us to do things, and we're just kind of doing it. But regardless, Cortex sets up these warp rooms for Crash to go into these levels and get the power crystals for him. He tells Crash, hey dude, I'm not evil this time. I'm actually a really good guy. I'm trying to save the Earth. And Crash just goes and gets the crystals. As you go through the game, you know, things become a little more obvious that this Dr. Cortex is, you know, he's kind of tricking you. I mean, if you ignore the whole title of the game that says he strikes back, then you'll see other clues, like, you know, Coco's warning you. And then you got Dr. Nitrous Brio. He says collect the gems instead of the crystals, and I'll stop him myself. So then there's the whole side mission of getting, you know, the colored gems and stuff like you'd expect from a Crash Bandicoot game. It's a silly little story told through these holographic floating heads, and it's, you know, It's more than the last game had. So eventually, Crash does get all these crystals, and wouldn't you know it, turns out Cortex was actually evil the whole time. So you chase him through space, you frick him up, and then Crash sends him flying again, which is, you know, a nice tradition. And yeah, that's the story, you know? A little more in depth than the last one, but not really any depth still. I'm going to talk about the Easter eggs really quick, because I think they're kind of cool. And then we'll go into what I didn't like about this game and what I loved about this game. The first one was backtracking, and seeing Cortex get all upset with me.
I said, bring me the crystals.
I'm trying. I'm gonna do it. I want to see him get mad.
No, Crash. To save the world, I need crystals. One more time. They look like
Okay.
this.
Oh.
Crystals, Crash.
Oh, like that.
Through one of those doors and bring me crystals.
Oh, crystals. Okay. Well, I don't want to get the damn crystal. I don't know what I don't forgot what it looks like.
There is a big crystal-shaped slot. Fill
Oh.
all 5 crystal slots in this warp room by retrieving 1 crystal from each of the 5 areas.
Okay, this is kind of confusing though. But I'm confused, so I need to get crystals. And where do I put them? Into slots?
There's also this cute little polar bear that if you jump on his head 10 times, he'll start spitting lies at you, which is cruel. Yeah, it's just cruel. I don't know why that's a thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. In the secret ending, you get to see Crash and Coco just blow up the whole space station. And then there were the fake, I remember the fake nitro boxes was a pretty cool little thing. Yeah, there's a lot of cool little secrets in this game I found. But yeah, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this video here. You know, what are the good and what are the bad with Crash 2? Because I noticed while doing some research that there's actually a lot of varying opinions on the game. Like, I think most people agree that it's a good Crash game and it's a good game, but you know, there's plenty of debate for which one's the best. There's some people that say this game is pretty overrated, and then there's a lot of people who just love this game and will stand behind it. So we're gonna figure out where I fall here. I think I'm gonna start off with the negatives so we can end on a positive note. Most of my big complaints just come at the very end of this game. It's really the final warp room where I actually have some problems. First of all, jetpack levels. It's cool, it's a cool idea. I feel like it could have been executed a lot better. It was just the controls just really sucked.
Okay. I'm so how does this work? Bro.
It's a shame because it was really cool to have, you know, Crash in a jetpack right there at the end of the game. I just wish it controlled a little better. And then of course that leads to the final boss. Everyone knows it's underwhelming in this game. You don't really do anything. You just kind of chase him and beat him up. I actually, you know what? This is embarrassing, but I'm going to say it. I actually lost the final boss first try. You know, I don't know what I was thinking. I think I expected more. I don't know what was going on through my head, but I somehow failed it. But then I just beat it easily the second try, so. And then my biggest complaint with the game, honestly, I don't know if anyone else had this, but the final level, Crash 2, for some reason, that was, you know, I had gone, after playing Crash 1, none of the levels in Crash 2 aggravated me as much as some of those levels in Crash 1, like the bridge levels. But there was one level in Crash 2 that actually did make me just about as mad. And that was this final level. Part of it is because I was dumb and I just didn't understand how things work. Like those starfish enemies, hated them. Them working in tandem with these like piston things, just the timing always threw me off, and I didn't even realize you could slide them. You could slide into them, so that was hard. And then once I did find that out, it was a little easier, but still. I was getting destroyed that entire level. That was the longest I spent on any level, I think. It sucks that most of my complaints come with the last warp room, because it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, or at least it did for me, because I spent so long on that final level. You know, I kind of forgot about how much fun I was having with levels before then. But yeah, enough with the negatives. Let's get into some of the positives. First of all, the warp rooms. I like the warp rooms a lot more than just the linear structure. This is a thing with me. The more I play it, and the more I mess up, the madder I get. And then the madder I get, the worse I get at the level. And it's just a devastating cycle of failure. So the fact that there's these warp rooms, it helps me a lot, because then I can take a break from that level, go play another one, beat it, you know, get my confidence back, beat a couple levels, and then come back to that. That's really nice, and I enjoyed that. And then possibly my favorite new addition to this game was the movement. You know, the slide is so fun. I'm I'm playing on the Insane Trilogy, so I don't know exactly how it felt on the old PS1, but like it just feels so clean in this. I feel way more in control of Crash here. I feel like there's significantly less times when I feel so cheated by the level and like the camera angles and stuff. The slide jump really helps you to make, get that extra push to land on the platform you're going for. And I really feel like when I do mess up, it's a lot more my fault than it is the game's. And then, Coco. Coco's a cool character, and Coco is introduced in this game, which is sick. So we got Coco out of it. And then this might be a negative for a lot of people, but for me being like a more casual player and like coming into the Crash fresh, I actually liked the collectibles in this game. So I didn't even go for any in Crash 1 because the game itself was hard enough for me. And maybe this is partly just because I was more inexperienced with Crash and didn't know I was getting into. But coming into Crash 2, I actually did go for collectibles every once. Like there were some levels that I would get the clear gem, and I got the color gem on the first level. Some of the collectibles are actually not that hard to get. I'm sure I didn't do any of the really hard ones, and I'm sure if I did, maybe I would be a little more mad about the collectibles in this game. But if you're coming into this casually and you don't really care about like 100%ing the game, it's nice to actually be able to get some of the secrets and collectibles. It doesn't feel like a lost cause like it did in Crash 1 for me. And then I liked the story. There's a little more story here in Crash 2 than there was in Crash 1, and I thought that was really cool. The world did feel a little more alive too, with the different characters and stuff and the enemies. I just felt they were a little more animated, and it felt like a nice, awesome, weird, wonky world. I liked the jet board and some of those jungle levels. The bosses, I think I had a good time with all of the bosses. I really liked the Komodo brothers were a really cool design. That little mech at the end of the game, I thought that was really fun. That was probably my favorite Crash boss I've fought so far, I think, just because it's such a funny little mechanic. You're throwing freaking Wumpa fruits at a mech. I learned that in the original Crash 2, it was a lot harder to know what you were doing. His arms didn't like glow yellow like they do in the Insane Trilogy, so it's obvious that you need to throw fruit at it. That whole boss, and that character too, pretty hilarious. Yeah, the level where you're running from a giant polar bear was also pretty awesome. And the fact that you get to ride a little baby polar bear and run from the big one, that's a really awesome idea. And it was funny. Although I did kind of struggle with that a little bit, but. And then I liked just overall, just tons of level variety in this game. You had the B levels with those mechanics, the levels where you're running from something, your standard Crash levels where you just get to really have fun with the movement. Special shout out to the level Night Fight. It can feel pretty cheap to have a level where you just have low visibility, but at least in the Insane Trilogy version of this, it actually looked really cool, and you weren't really that hindered by the lack of light. It was just sick because the enemies had these cool spotlights, and the glowing effect itself was really cool. I liked the fact that the hardest parts of this game were going for those collectibles. Whereas in Crash 1, it was just so hard to just get through those bridge levels. Like, I didn't care about any of the collectibles. I just wanted to get through it, and it was so hard. In Crash 2, it felt like, a lot of the difficulty stemmed from, like, trying to do a death route, or going for a gem, or like trying to get all the boxes and stuff. Where if it got too hard, I could just, say, all right, I'll come back to that later. I liked how you could just get through the game without, wanting to jump off your roof. And then lastly, the soundtrack. I felt the soundtrack was a lot, I felt it was a lot better than the first game. It felt a little more alive, had a little more character. I'm excited to use it in this video. That's kind of what I liked about Crash 2. In my opinion, I like this game more than Crash 1. I do still respect Crash 1 a lot for its simplicity. It is by its nature, it's more challenging, Crash 1, I feel. Plenty of people might like it for that. And yeah, I did not 100% this game, so keep that in mind when I'm telling you what I think about it as a more casual player. It just felt fun to just get on the game and just run around and slide and do cool movements and stuff. I just loved that, and I was excited to play it every time. So yeah, after playing Crash 2, I will say I'm a fan of Crash, and I'm excited to play Crash 3 because from what I understand, it's a lot more like Crash 2. And then when I do, you can expect another video like this where I'll talk about this whole frickin' trilogy. All right. Thanks again to Sky for giving that input there on the movement, and yeah, can't wait. to beat Crash Bandicoot 3.
Oh my god, I did it, didn't I? Oh my gosh. Can we just take a second? This is the first time this has happened to me in any level. And it was fucking this level.